The devil went down to LA. He was looking for a murder to solve. Hey everyone, welcome to Princess of Gay. I'm your host Connie, and today we are here with episode 2 of Lucifer. Yeah, we are finally back with this. For those who don't remember, this was both a donation reward and a first impressions. See, Venom donated for this, but donated it as a first impressions because who knows if I would like it, knowing me. We reacted to the first episode a while back, like early last year, I think, and just hadn't gotten around to this yet. It had become so much of a thing that Venom had kept asking me pretty much after every series ended, oh, is Lucifer next? And it's like, I have to get to this at some point. Well, we're finally here. Fire Force Season 2 has ended, so this is what is replacing it. Now, from what I remember in the first episode, Lucifer, the devil, whatever you want to call him, runs a nightclub in hell. In LA. He runs a nightclub in LA. Someone close, quote unquote, to him died. Someone I guess maybe who like performed at his club or something. And he actually was upset by this to the point where he started working with a cop in order to solve the murder. I think they went to like the house of like some kind of like musician or something like that. And there's this like kind of like big confrontation there. But yeah, it was surprisingly pretty fun and entertaining. Like more so than I would have thought for a series like this. Because like with a plot like this, it can tend to be very generic and boring. It's the kind of concept that you really have to get the right people working on it to get right. Otherwise, it just comes across as maybe even a little cringy, I feel. Because when you're dealing with like supernatural kind of stuff within like the Christian religion, I guess you could say. And you're trying to make the series funny, charming, exciting, and entertaining, while also kind of like keeping that kind of vibe to it and adding the detective mystery stuff. It's like you really got to be careful because there's so many levels there that you could mess up. And even if you only mess up a couple of them, it could ruin the entire vibe of the show. The only other show that I've seen do this kind of specific thing as well as it does is Supernatural. Supernatural very much had a lot of these same kind of vibes. A lot to do with the Christian religion. A lot of the mystery detective stuff is put in there. You have the supernatural elements. The charm and wit and humor and whatnot is there. It's that same vibe of show. And Supernatural did it so well that it got 15 seasons. And a spin-off and whatnot. It became kind of this pop culture phenomenon. And so you see like other shows try to copycat this kind of stuff, and it just doesn't work as well. Because you don't have the right people working it. You don't have the right cast members. You don't have the right director or directors. But the first episode of Lucifer, definitely seemed to get it. it definitely seemed to just do very well at that. Tom Ellis is great casting for Lucifer. Like that really helps right off the bat. The writing is great too. This is based off of comics because apparently this version of Lucifer was the character from Neil Gaiman's Sandman comics, who had his own spin-off within the comic books, and now it got a series as well. So this is uh Sandman DC. I think Sandman's DC. Um, but yeah, this is technically a comic book series, or a comic book adaptation. That's the word I was looking for. This is technically a comic book adaptation, and that's really funny to me because it doesn't seem like it would be. You know what I mean? Like you look at superhero stuff and it's like, yeah, that's comic books. You look at TMNT and it's like, yeah, that's comic books. Watchmen or all this other stuff you see. It's like you get it. But then you have this and it's like this was based on a comic. You wouldn't necessarily automatically get that. So I'm definitely interested to see more of how this goes. And it's also interesting to me as well that this series came out well before the actual Sandman series by Neil Gaiman. I do kind of wonder, because I didn't like, I unfortunately have not continued the Sandman series past episode 1 yet. I want to, I just haven't done so yet. I wonder if Tom Ellis makes an appearance in there at all as Lucifer, since it's literally the same character from the Sandman. I'm genuinely curious if he makes an appearance because that'd be pretty cool. That'd be pretty cool if they got him for the series. Um, but yeah, yeah, I'm excited to see where this goes. I hope it continues to be as good as the pilot was, if not better. I assume it's just gonna be more of these cases. Like that's the only thing I can think about because Lucifer is decidedly working with this one police officer now, and I assume that they're just going to be solving cases like Scooby Doo Mystery of the Week shit. I don't know. I mean, that's my guess, but we'll have to see. Either way, let me know in the comments below. And I normally say this kind of stuff during the afterthoughts. But let me know, um, are there any other shows like this out there that you can think of that would be good for maybe future reactions? You can you don't even if you aren't suggesting them specifically as donation rewards, just let me know because I'm kind of curious. But either way, let us get to the reaction. So when the screen fades to black, pause this redirect and go to the description below. Follow the link to the reaction, and after you watch it, come back here to the redirect and resume play. Because after it fades to black and then fades back in, everything from that point forward will be my afterthoughts and will contain spoilers to the episode. So, with that being said, thank you so much for tuning in, and I will see you at the reaction. And we are back, and we'll begin with spoilers in 3, 2, 1, now. Yeah, that was good. There's definitely kind of what I was expecting. Like each episode's going to be what its own mystery until they start like probably bringing in like a consistent story. I mean, outside of just Chloe, you know, realizing more and more that Lucy's telling the truth about who he is and everything. Like outside of that. So this episode, yeah, we focus on the paparazzi and specifically two of them, and this kind of like murder of the son of a celebrity. And yeah, it was very clear from like pretty much the moment we saw him that Josh was skeezy as fuck. Um, but like even the characters pointed out how creepy he was. And when it's made clear that he's setting up all of these paparazzi moments to be first rather than, actually being first, it doesn't really count, when you set it up. That doesn't really count. But yeah, it's wild to say the least. And to find out this other guy, the other guy was just trying to be better because he realized something he did in the past with against Chloe was really bad, and he wanted to make it up and everything, but he made mistakes still. Yeah, it's entertaining. It's entertaining to keep to go through this and to try and figure things out along with them, and just to see how the story of the specific case in this situation develops. Excuse me. Plus, to see how Lucifer handles it all. Um, the entire duel thing was kind of unexpected. But also, it's pretty interesting how for this, as he put it, punishment, Josh never had the ability to shoot with that gun. And Nick, his gun was loaded the entire time. And it's like, it was specifically made to punish Josh, not Nick. It was set up to where it's like, it seemed like both of them had an equal shot to kill each other, but in the end, no. It was entirely one-sided. And that's very interesting, too, because that automatically proves that Lucy and Maze took a side. Like, Lucifer said that he didn't see that coming, that was all Maze's idea, but I don't necessarily believe that. I think that was part of the plan. And even if it was all Maze, that is something that Lucifer would do because that's what Maze wants to emulate here. Let's be honest, Maze kind of seems like she's a bit of a fangirl of Lucifer, specifically of how he normally tends to be. She doesn't like that he's changing because she seems to simp over, let's be honest, how Lucy normally is, his, devil self. So the idea of him changing bothers her because that's not what she likes from him. So doing this here, it's something he would do. And I think that she would do that to try and, show him that. It imbalances the confrontation. It makes it so that only one of them is going to have a possibility of dying. And it's not out of saying oh, Nick has tried to redeem himself so he deserves it. No. It's basically to fuck with him. To fuck with Josh. It's more mean-spirited than the idea of giving Nick a second chance there. Because the thing is, at the same time, it would still involve Nick killing Josh. So Nick doesn't necessarily get off scot-free with it. So if he weren't arrested by police after that fact, knowing where Nick's mental state is, he might have committed suicide. After having done that, after having spent so long trying to better himself and everything. It was not a mercy option there by having Josh's gun unloaded. So even if it was just Maze, which I don't really think it was, I think Lucifer was just being a dick there when he was saying I didn't expect that. Even if it were, that's still something he would have done. Especially in that state, because at the time Lucifer was definitely trying to prove that he's still Lucifer. That's why he went through with this punishment in the first place. He didn't want to admit he was changing, and it was only through seeing Chloe come in and how she, interacted with all this and seeing everything going on, that's when he realized he is changing and he actually isn't too upset by it. So it's really interesting to see Lucy's kind of mindset change. But you could also see at the end there, Maze was not happy with that at all. And obviously, Amandiel, something like that, Lucy's brother, was not happy with it either. And he gave Lucy a bit of a warning there. It's like, you're gonna regret not having gone back to hell, not taking my offer. It's like, okay, well, that's going to be an issue. I've seen Supernatural. I know where that kind of thing could go. We're about to have, like, some sibling wars or some shit. But, yeah, this was interesting. Also, this girl is like, I have the internet. I already knew about this. It's not even in HD. It's like, girl, you're like 10. You should not be looking at porn on the internet. I mean, honestly, let's be honest here. Let's be honest. Kids look up porn. Well, teenagers mostly. Like when you get to that point when you start questioning things and start thinking about that kind of stuff, and you have access to the internet, yeah, you're gonna end up looking up porn. It happens. I did it when I was a teenager. I mean, most people do. And in and of itself, that's just a kid coming to terms with that entire kind of thing. It's hormones and whatnot. Figuring yourself out and all. It's like, it happens. And it's like, kids don't usually, of course, necessarily act on it or, like, develop, like, super terrible addictions to it right away. It's not inherently wrong for kids to question that kind of stuff, to think about that kind of stuff. Because again, it's a part of growing up. But like this kid is like, what, 10? She's a little young for that. I know that your puberty can come in different times and everything, especially for assigned female at birth individuals. Your puberty can tend to come a little bit earlier than assigned male at birth individuals. But at the same time, 10. Also, it makes it a lot more awkward when it's her mother in the movie, to be fair. Like, that makes it really extremely awkward. But it's like, again, when you hit puberty, when you have those hormones going, you're going to explore this kind of stuff. It's natural, let's be honest. As long as you don't, like, go too far with it or become super creepily obsessed with it, or start trying to enact stuff in regards to sexuality in real life, then you're fine. And again, most teens going through this are fine. They just explore this kind of stuff because their hormones are going wild. And it seems like she was focused more on, like, the throwing up and everything than anything else. So that's good, at least. But still, it's just it's weird when it's like 10, you know what I mean? Like, if she were like 13 or whatnot, that would be like, okay, that's fair. I get it. And I understand, like, this is, like, taking place in more modern times. This came out in 2016, right? So probably right around that time. So, yeah, internet's very readily available. I understand that kids are going to come across that stuff a little bit easier, even if just accidentally. Like, you could just be scrolling through Twitter and discover that without even intending to. That's very possible. In fact, I've done it. I've literally just been scrolling through Twitter and just randomly discovered, hey, look, porn. Um, but it's just weird, the age thing, you know. Again, if she were a few years older, it wouldn't be. It'd be a little more believably understandable. But with a 10-year-old, I don't actually know if she's 10. By the way, she just looks 10 to me. Though I guess it's like you can't always judge based on looks, but I don't know. Maybe she is 12 or 13. I don't know. It's just the girl looks like she's a 10-year-old. It just it comes across more that way to me. Plus, like, she has this like Barbie doll and everything, like that she has this entire like backstory to, and the backstory is very 10-year-old like. It does not read like a 13-year-old. One, by 13, I think a lot of people who play with Barbies are tend to kind of grow out of that by that point. That for the most part, that tends to be more of a younger kid thing. Speaking from experience with, a sister who played with Barbies. Um, but even then, it's like the backstory is so like little kid like. So if this girl is like supposed to be 12 or 13, I think they messed up a little bit on the writing there. I mean, unless like that was written based on like a real life example they had, in which case that's still the that's not the norm. Let's just put it that way. Which I mean, mind you, like she could be older and still play with Barbies or whatnot. Like that's not impossible. It's just again, it's not the norm. But she just doesn't read as a 13-year-old to me, you know? Anyway, I don't know. I'm getting into this entire discussion about the fact that this girl apparently, like, canonically has looked at porn just because she has the internet. Which, again, like, yeah, it's made it more accessible. Because we're gonna get into this. I apologize, but when I was around that age and I started getting into that, it was mostly through the internet. And the internet wasn't as prevalent as it is now back then, but it was still there. And my family had like a family computer, and I would basically sneak onto it, like sometimes in the middle of the night and stuff, and look at that stuff. And eventually, at one point, like I found uh, porn magazines discarded in at the time we lived in like this community that had like communal dumpsters, like these big dumpsters for the entire like neighborhood area. It was like this big kind of like neighborhood area that was all run under the same like complex and all. And there were like these dumpsters set about at different points in it for the people who lived there. Instead of like putting your trash by the curb, because of how the neighborhood was laid out, we just had the dumpsters that were picked up. Anyway, point is, I at one point was like throwing stuff away, and I found those in there, and so I, being a hormonal teenager, grabbed them. And so yeah, and that plus the computer and everything, and it's just like, yeah, you get the gist, you get the idea. Um, and again, that's natural. Teenagers do this. They learn about this stuff, and their hormones and their mindsets at the time make them very interested in it. And there's nothing inherently wrong with that as long as it's handled well and they don't go overboard and everything. And like, it's just one of those cases where kids just kind of discover this stuff on their own. Like most of the time, you hear about the entire birds and the bees talk and everything, but like I feel like most of the time kids discover this before their parents even would have that talk with them. In fact, I feel like a lot of the time the parents have the talk with them because they've already discovered it, and the parents want them to understand a little bit more at that point. Maybe back in the day it was more common for, that the parents to talk about it with them beforehand, but still. Um, nowadays, especially in like 2024, with the internet being such a massive part of just public culture, like kids are definitely going to be seeing this a lot easier than before, especially with a lot more kids having access to the internet earlier and just more consistently, having their own phones or their own iPads, or in some cases just full out computers. They're going to be able to come across this stuff a lot quicker and a lot easier, a lot earlier. So yeah, I mean, this took place again. This is like 2016, but still, I guess it's still possible for her to have come across this, but it's a little weird for when she's like 10 or so, it's a little weird than if she was like 13. I don't know, maybe that's just me. Maybe that's just a me thing. um but yeah. Also, to move on from that, Lucy is boinking his therapist very often. They have their sessions, but that comes with the caveat that he also has to fuck her. And it's made clear that they've been doing this. They have been very much going on about this. And she is like way too excited about it. It's like he must be really good in bed. We also see that he had a threesome at one point. That I I kind of want to go back to that real quick because I kind of want to check because there was at least one other guy in that. I think this is the scene, yeah, because the apple's right there. There's at least one other guy in it, and by the way, absolutely pansexual. Like, Lucifer is 100% pansexual. I don't remember if it mentioned anything about that in the first episode, but 100%. Okay, so there's a girl there too. There's a guy and a girl. Okay. So he had sex there with both of them, and the girl is more. It seems like the girl is more cuddled up to him specifically in that moment, but the guy is there too, and it's like he mentions it was specifically a threesome, and it's like you absolutely know. It's like it wasn't just him and that other guy like going to town on the girl or anything. You absolutely know he was getting it on with the guy too. Like if anyone's gonna be pansexual, the devil is gonna be pansexual. I mean, if for no other reason than just to, engage in the act of lust more. Like, that's absolutely just how it would be. And I want to make this very clear. As a pansexual myself, I am not saying that in a way as to say that pansexuality or queerness is satanic or evil or anything. No, I'm just saying, like, Lucifer is the devil. He's going to engage in the 7 deadly sins, and he's going to engage in them as much as possible to the biggest degree possible. Lust is one of the 7 deadly sins. And lust doesn't always and inherently mean just sex, but that is kind of the big thing that people associate lust with, and it is one of the biggest lustful things out there. And if Lucifer is going to engage in lust to the biggest degree he can, the way to do that would be with as many partners as he can without really being discriminate about it. He would be as indiscriminate as possible. He would be just fucking anyone and everyone, basically. Gender doesn't matter to him. Like, nothing about that matters to him. All that matters to him is, can they have sex with him? Like, let's be honest here. So it's like, yeah. I wanted to check that again real quick. I muted it so you wouldn't hear any audio, but yeah, I wanted to check that again briefly just to make sure. And yeah, there was a guy and a girl in his bed with him. And hey, fair enough. I mean, like I said, I'm pansexual as well, so no issue there. But yeah, this was a good episode. This discussion led into some places, but this was a good episode. And I like that the way it was resolved in the end just landed with a kick in the nuts and being arrested, you know? I mean, obviously Josh did deserve worse. Like, with the shit he pulled, the murders and everything, all the setups just to get these pictures. It's like, oh yeah, he deserved to die. But it's better that he faced better justice, like, that he got arrested and everything. Just killing him like that, especially in that kind of way, it wouldn't have resolved anything. It wouldn't have been right. And Lucy started to see that, and that's why he changed his mind. So, hey. Plus, we didn't want to make a murderer out of Nick. He's already done enough bad and has been trying to fix that. So, yeah. Either way, tell me in the comments below, what did you think of this episode of Lucifer? Let me know, and just warning you going forward, yeah, knowing the content of this series, we're probably going to be talking about some debaucherous things in these afterthoughts each week. But I hope you enjoyed, and for now, I'm Connie, and I'm signing off. See y'all next time.